What is going on, movie fans, and welcome back to my channel. Elliot here with an immediate out-of-theater reaction, give you my review for the 2024 reimagining of Roadhouse, directed by Doug Liman and starring Jake Gyllenhaal. So before I get into my thoughts, let me talk to y'all in the comments. Let me know, number one, if you've seen the original, if you're a fan of it. Let's talk about it. Let me know if you were looking forward to this film, which will be streaming on Amazon Prime, I believe, on March 22nd. And what did you think of this movie? Did you like it? Did you love it? Did you not like it? Let's talk about it in the comment section. So for me, I've seen the original, but I don't really remember a lot of it. Like, I don't revisit it a ton. I remember thinking Patrick Swayze, this dude has charisma for days. And I remember it being just like a B-level 80s movie, right? Top Gun type of movie, right? Where it's just like it's a product of its time and you can just cut it on and just watch it on TNT or TBS when it's on. So when it came to them remaking this, I'm like, oh, let's see a reimagining of it starring one of my favorite actors in Jake Gyllenhaal. And Doug Liman, he's hit or miss for me. For every American Made or Edge of Tomorrow or Swingers or Born Identity, there's Chaos Walking. Or there's, the Pandemic movie he made a couple years ago. Like, he's hit or miss. But neither here nor there. What did I think about this film? But being honest, I thought it was a mixed bag. Positively speaking, when the film is self-aware, which it is, it's very generic. It is a B-level movie. And when it does play into those tropes of characters realizing this is some crazy ridiculous, it's funny, one of the critics mentioned Looney Tunes. I'm like, yes, that is a perfect way to describe some of the ridiculousness in this movie. It's very Looney Tune-ish. Only thing that was missing was...
That's all, folks.
Anyway, it is goofy, but when the film is aware of itself, there is fun to be had. Now, luckily, I was able to see this in a theater, which I know it's not going to be available in theaters, but there is a certain type of energy in the room. There are jokes that I thought a lot of the people, including myself, laughed at. So again, comedy is very subjective, but there is funny moments that I really enjoyed. The action's obviously, I'm a big action fiend, and I love a good action movie. And I thought the action was solid for the most part. Doug Liman he's trying to do something innovative where he's trying to make you feel immersed in the fighting, the camera movements, you feel like you're getting punched, you're throwing punches. Some of that stuff was cool, but sometimes it was distracting because it's very shaky cam. Again, most of it works, but sometimes it was distracting. But action overall, I wasn't anticipating this film to be as visceral, but more importantly, as violent as it is. The little bit I do remember from the original, from the 80s, there was violence, but not to the level of violence that we have in it. But I really appreciated it as an action fan. So some good jokes every now and then, some solid action sequences. Performance-wise, Jake Gyllenhaal isn't winning any awards anytime soon for this movie, but the same bag that he plays in when he's in a Michael Bay film or the same bag that he plays in when he's in an MCU film, he's digging in that bag in this one. Dalton in this one is an ex-UFC fighter that had a fight gone wrong, and now he's out doing like bar fights to get money. He comes across the club owner, played by Jessica Williams, and he's doing the roadhouse thing. So the script pretty much writes itself, but there is a mystery to Dalton that he doesn't really give you too much of who he is and his demons that he's dealing with. But I like the charisma that Jakes brings to the role. Again, he's not really flexing his acting abilities. He's kind of much on, this is an insult, but he's on like cruise control. But it's like a cruise control that plays into the character. So his performance was solid. Jessica Williams, I am your number one fan. Extremely funny, and she's also very attractive, if I may say. She really blew me out of the water in Apple TV Plus Shrinking. She's great in that show, and that show is also great. Can't wait for season 2. She is so solid in this movie. Like, she's just in it enough where you're like, oh, she's so great, but they don't overuse her because she's really like kind of the comic relief in this film, and she's just great. I think Jessica Williams should be in every movie ever made moving forward. There's also some other supporting characters. Some of the goons had some funny moments. Some actors are very much there for a certain reason and are playing the part really well. Like, I think of the villain, Billy Magnussen, I think is his name, who I remember in Game Night. He's the villain. Like, he's no one's scared of you, bro, but he plays the part well. But I gotta tell y'all something, man. I'm not a big UFC fighter or a boxing person that follows that sport too often, but I am aware of Conor McGregor. This is his first acting debut. He's not a good actor, but what he's given, he acts his ass off in the role. Like, I can't remember the character's name that he plays, but he is brought in to handle Dalton, who's taken over the situation that they're trying to... The plot, don't go see this movie because of the plot's really not there, and it's kind of ridiculous, like this kind of crime situation. But nonetheless, am I going to say Conor McGregor stole the movie? I think I'm going to say that because he is just so damn ridiculous. Like, he is a quintessential 80s where he is wacky, he's wild, he says dumb shit, he does does dumb shit, but it works for the character. And when it comes to him versus Jake Gyllenhaal, those are some of the highlighted action moments that I was referring to, because he's a fighter. So even though he can't act, he can fight. But then when you mix in the fact that he can't act, you're just like, this dude is on cocaine. It's just kind of funny. He's a clown. He's a literal clown in this movie. But I think Conor steals the movie. But getting into some of that mixed bag and the negatives, the plot isn't that really that good. Like, it kind of dives into corruption, and they obviously make this homage, and they make it pretty bluntly clear that they're trying to touch on like Western themes and tropes of this guy coming in town, fixing things up and whatnot, and being friendly with some of the locals and what have you. So it is, again, it goes back to self-awareness. But when you look at the plot and how things play out, the thing that I was missing that I remember from the original is, where's like the bouncer club type of culture? And I remember Patrick Swayze recruiting some of his friends and getting into the mix. Like, that whole camaraderie of the bar culture really isn't present in this movie. Like, they kind of sideline that to dive into. And again, the film is aware that it kind of becomes an action film with a little bit of mystery, but I don't know if all those beats really work for when the film isn't self-aware and it tries to be serious. Go back to the ridiculousness, because you're doing good at that. There's no reason this film should be 2 hours. And also, I mentioned how Dalton's a UFC fighter. I don't really know the significance of that unless they were like sponsored by UFC, because Conor's in this film and maybe they were producers, because it's like that UFC angle has like a reveal, if you want to call it that, but it's like he didn't have to be a UFC fighter. Anyway, there's like little moments of story that don't really need to be there. The film is way too long. Like, this could have been an hour and a half and it would have been perfectly fine. But there are moments where like, that's just stupid. That's just plain on stupid. And there's some like oddly paced moments. So all in all, it's a mixed bag. When it is what it is and it knows what it is, there's fun to be had. But then when it gets a little bit too serious, it's like, nah, that ain't really working. So with all that being said, this will be available on streaming on Prime Video. And I would say there's enough good to watch it on streaming. I don't think this is something you want to pay to see in theaters. I think it is on the perfect platform, which is streaming. I'm going to give 2024's Roadhouse a solid 3 out of 5. Again, it's nothing special. It's pretty generic. It's pretty paint by numbers, but there's fun moments, and Jessica Williams is the ice on the cake for me. She makes this movie, and the cocaine level of performance that we get from Conor McGregor is pretty wild. Wild enough for you all to check it out. And when you do, let me know what you thought, what you liked, what you didn't like, all that stuff in the comments below. As I'm recording this, I will be seeing Ghostbusters pretty soon, so keep an eye out for that. For my TV fans, keep an eye out for my review for the next episode of Invincible. We got 3 Body Problems on Netflix, so keep an eye out for all that. And by keeping an eye out for it, that's you hitting that notification bell so you can know when those videos drop. You all are great. Stay safe, and I'll catch you all on the next video.
Yeah.